My first guest, you will most likely recognize from his 12 seasons as a company member at Trinity Repertory Company. You'll be seeing a lot of him this weekend at the PVD Fest. I'd like to welcome Joe Wilson Jr.
Hello.
Yeah, Joe, hi. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great.
Thank you
Hi.
so much for being here today.
I'm so happy to be here.
We're getting applause, and you just got here.
Oh my
this
God,
is
so
going to be
great.
good. I know, I can tell. So, 12 seasons at Trinity Repertory Company. I mean, I think that we can safely say that you're sort of a local celebrity. I mean, how many roles has that been? How many shows has it been? Can you even keep track?
I can't keep track. Actually, it's been about between 3 or 4 plays a year for the past 12 seasons, and I am going into my 13th season. I'm happy to say that this morning I had a photo shoot for the fact that I'm playing Scrooge in Christmas
That's
Carol.
right. That was just announced.
And you think you're getting younger and younger, but this is my version of a facelift, to be old enough to play Scrooge now. But I'm really excited about that, and also I'll be doing Ragtime, playing Cole House in Ragtime. So
that's going to be
really
amazing.
exciting. So excited. But in the number of roles, I can't even count. It's a blessing to not be able to count
Exactly.
the number of opportunities to play these extraordinary people.
Have so many opportunities and so many wonderful shoes to fill in these roles. So, really exciting news recently that the PVD Fest, which is happening this weekend, it's a huge event. I mean, every kind of like artistic organization in the state, any kind of food, any kind of anything is happening this weekend. We've been covering a lot of, the events, and you are going to be Grand Marshal.
It's so exciting, and not unrelated to the work with Trinity Rep, but this community has not only given me a chance to play extraordinary parts, but the most important part for me has been an engaged community member. This community has welcomed me, allowed me to serve, allowed me to be a part of working for other not-for-profits, raising money, to be involved. And so it really takes my art making from simply being a luxury item or a thing that's consumed to art making being a critical way that we change and shape our communities and make them better. And I've had the privilege of doing that here. And so the mayor, I was at a party with the mayor a few weeks ago. Actually, it was a celebration of the downtown life, the neighborhood improvement district. And the mayor was there, and he pulled me on the side and said, "Hey, I want you to be a Grand Marshal for the week." And I was stunned and moved because people always think that, I get applause every night on stage, and actually the curtain call is my least favorite part of the evening because we don't do it for the applause, and I don't do what I do in this community for recognition, but it's really nice to be an artist and to feel as though, especially in an art form where I wasn't an artist as a kid, my deciding to go into art versus going to law school for my parents was like an abject failure of their duties as parents. But
They can't stop us.
They can't, yeah. But to be able to make art in a community and to see how that art making is affecting the community and shaping the community, and people respect that function that I serve as a public servant is really moving. And so I will be a Grand Marshal of the festivities from the weekend of the 1st to the 4th. There are events happening all over this city, including every organization in this city, the food, the music, but also really great community engagement dialogues that are happening, community tables that are taking shape. This entire city will be alive, not only with art making, but with conversation. I want to encourage all of you to please, this is a completely free event. And to keep this event free, there is a huge fundraising party on Friday, the 2nd, at the Dorrance Hotel from 6 to 8 p.m. And we ask that folks please go online to pvdfest.com. I think you guys are reworking some stuff on your end to really get all the events out there. So please come to this party on Friday, where I will be officially sashed. And we're going to welcome this event happening in our city. But more importantly, know that every dollar you spend will ensure that this event continue to be free for the entire public. And so it's a great event. And of course, the parade is Saturday at 4 o'clock. So please come to that. Right? I will be in the parade, waving with my best,
with your sash.
With my sash and my best.
Perfect. So the fundraiser, is that a ticketed event that people need to buy tickets for beforehand?
Yes.
Okay.
So please go online to the pvdfest.com to purchase tickets.
Great.
Yes.
That's going to be so fun. I will definitely be there. I'll look for you.
I'll be down there for you.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned as you were talking about your kind of contribution to this community, which I think is, among a lot of wonderful things about you, one of the best things about you, because you really participate so much in this community. It's interesting, you're not even from here, but you've lived here for 12 years now, and you know, it must feel like home, and it must feel like you're really contributing to this community in doing all the things you do. You're hosting events, you're helping kids, you're involved with programs for kids. I know there's the Manton Avenue Project. You're going to be hosting something for them soon. You won an award.
Yes.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about how and why you've chosen to do these things.
How and why?
How and why?
Well, how, because I've been given an opportunity by this community. People have trusted me to be involved. Why is because, you know, I lived in Minneapolis for many years and I lived in New York and worked on and off Broadway. I've been very fortunate, especially to be an actor of color in this business, to go from one job to the next. I really have been very fortunate in that. And what I've discovered is that simply wasn't enough for me. Going from one show to the next did not serve me. And I think, unfortunately, for a lot of reasons, but one main reason is that the arts have been reduced to a thing that sometimes, all too often, is a thing to be consumed, a thing to be purchased, versus a thing that is a way that is as pivotal to communities as breathing and thinking and water and air. That art making is not something that is relegated to who can afford to do it, but art making is a way that all of us have power in terms of being creative, imagining different worlds, imagining different scenarios, you know, whether we want to express how we feel in a moment, to capture a moment, to photograph a moment, to sing about a moment, to write. We are all artists because we, as people, want to express those things that move us the most. But art has become something that is to be purchased or to be afforded. And that's not the purpose of art making. Art making, for me, fundamentally changes and shapes how communities have conversations and become more empathetic. And so the more I kept doing more work and beginning feeling more and still unsatisfied, I had to change the way I thought about what I was doing and why I was doing it. And it's not just about going from one show to the next, but it's about using these shows and these stories to be able to go into communities and ultimately have these old stories reflect new stories, ultimately teaching young people to write new stories, ultimately transforming the relationships that communities have to art making, specifically communities that haven't, quote, been afforded the luxury of being engaged in art making or conversations that are led by art makers.
Right.
And so this work has been all about shifting the paradigm around the power and the importance of art in communities. In changing the dialogue, in being activists, in being advocates, in being mentors, in being teachers, being servants. Right. And so the more that I've understood that about my work has actually become more fulfilling the more it's been tied to activism and reshifting conversations in communities. And so coming here gave me the opportunity to discover that and to really live that and to be in a state that's so small that we can actually see the effects of art making on communities. And so I talk too much. So
no,
sorry.
You don't. This is why you're here. I mean, it's true. I think Providence and Rhode Island is very lucky to have you. I mean, as this figure and bringing what you're bringing to our community. And you were discussing a little bit about sort of mixing your activism and your work. And recently you had a lot of opportunity to kind of bring that out. I know you recently played Martin Luther King Jr. in The Mountaintop, which was a beautiful performance. I know you had sort of a controversial role in Oklahoma. Now you're going to be playing Scrooge as an African-American Scrooge. I mean, it seems to be integrating a little bit.
Well, you know, the great thing about this theater is that we were on the beginning of the regional theater movement, meaning, you know, when you had these smaller theaters popping up in Minneapolis and in Chicago and in Providence. These are people who wanted to work outside of the commercial world of film and TV in LA and in Broadway and that commercially produced world in New York. And so you had these smaller communities popping up, and you know, we were cross-culture, cross-gender casting before we even called it colorblind casting. That's what awesome. We did. It was about the idea. Adrian Hall, our original founder, believed in putting the best actor in the role, whether that was Barbara Meek or whether that was Timmy Crow or whether that was Dick Jenkins or whether that was whomever, putting the best actor in the part. And so we have a history of putting bodies in spaces that were not traditionally meant to be in those spaces.
But it seems like they were a lot more comfortable with that than maybe the audiences.
Well,
because
sure.
I know even recently, people were very, with Oklahoma, people were very off-put by this.
They
You
were.
know, they didn't know how to digest that openness.
Also, what we have learned is as an institution that things have changed and
Yeah.
there are repercussions to putting bodies of color in certain situations. And our privilege of being art makers who have the trust of a community behind us, we cannot neglect our responsibility of continuing to examine the choices that we make and the power of what it means to put black bodies and bodies of color in certain spaces. That colorblind is no more anymore. That we're demanding that we see color. We're demanding that we provide spaces of affinity for people who share these same kinds of values based upon ethnicity and race. We're demanding that we not just whitewash and that we colorblind or that we assimilate. We're demanding that we provide spaces for people to be their fullest selves. And I think in two, the theater has had to change in that regard.
Yeah.
But it's not just about putting a black person in a white role. It's about now also doing that and providing spaces for black writers to write and providing spaces for LGBT community members to write and providing spaces for trans folks to act and providing spaces for those stories to be told. It's not just enough having a series of plays presented to people and fitting them into those spaces, but us actively as an institution providing spaces for people to flourish on their own and celebrating their own communities, and us providing spaces for those things to happen, and realizing that in providing spaces that there is enough for to go around, and that we all have to do less declaring and more listening. And so that's why, in going back to the festival, I'm proud to be an artist being recognized by the mayor, that's not just making plays, but hopefully making a difference. And so I'm thrilled about what's happening and thrilled to witness this event unfold in this city, which completely transforms Providence.
I know.
It's unlike
It's
anything.
so
It's so get out in the streets.
And
It's going to be amazing.
We have, like I said, we've been covering it a lot. We are going to continue to cover it this week. And it's just like the more I learn about the event, the more I'm like, oh my God.
And it's only the third year, and it's already been, and it's a centerpiece of, and what you have to know, a month of events. We have this going on this week, of course, Manhattan Avenue Gala. There's lots of galas happening in June. It's the end of the year. People are graduating, but also Pride's coming up.
That's right. You're involved in this
I'm on the
as
Pride
well.
board, and I'll come back and talk about Pride.
Great. Let's do it.
But there's a lot happening in June. It's a great way to get out of, we've been rained on for the month of May. So get downtown, get into the food trucks, get into the scene, go online, pvdfest.com. Also, I think your website's going to do some publicizing of all the events. There's so much going on for families at night, dating. There's so much happening.
This
So
is
please,
a great first date.
Great. It's a great thing. Get out.
For sure, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so we can find you this weekend at PVD Fest for sure. I'll look for you. You'll have a sash, so I'll know it's you.
Yes.
You're also currently in the show at Trinity right now.
Yes, I'm performing in a play called Fuente Ovejuna, or Like Sheep to Water. It is a very old play written by Lope de Vega. He was a contemporary of Shakespeare. That's how old this play is. But it is a new adaptation by our artistic director, Kurt Columbus. It is a wonderful play, lots of music, rap, a young cast, a very diverse cast, telling this extraordinary tale. And about now. And I won't say any more about it because I can't give it away, but it's about a summer of resistance. Let's just put it that way.
Perfect. Perfect. And it runs until June 11th.
June 11th.
June 11th. So get out there, get your tickets now, because it's not going to last forever. So you should go and check it out.
Come and see us.
Joe, I could talk to you all day.
Thank you so much.
But unfortunately, I don't have all day to talk. But you're the greatest. I'm going to give you a hug.
I love you. I'll see you soon,
Let's
baby.
take a pic.
Oh, cool.
We have to take selfies here.
I love it.
Okay.
Cool.
Gorge.
Cool.
You're the greatest.
I love
okay.
you.
Love you too.
Bye, you guys. See you this weekend. Bye-bye.
All right, I'm waving like I'm going somewhere. I'm not. Oh, more applause for Joe Wilson.